I'm in Marlborough, New Zealand, in the vineyards of Fromm. Just tasted some beautiful Syrah, and there's not a lot of Syrah in this area, so I had to ask the general manager of the estate, William Hoare. Tell me, William, I mean, Syrah, how are you doing it? Syrah, you don't see much of it in New Zealand at large, and here we are in an area that's known for Sauvignon Blanc, having beautiful Syrah.
It's an interesting story. Like in the beginning, in the old days, like probably in the early 90s, there's a lot of guys actually planted Syrah. So Clardy Bay had it, Vavasor had it, Waira River had it, but they kind of all grew it like Sauvignon Blanc. And so when the Fromms came in '92, they tried some of these wines and they thought Syrah was an interesting wine. So this is actually budwood from the Vavasor vines. So these are 22-year-old vines. And yeah, we probably in 5 or 6 years ago, we were looking at them and looking back at vintages, and we just said, you know, it really makes great wine. So,
but is it the soil, or do you have to keep crop levels low, or is it the age of the vines? What are you doing? It's not the winemaking, because I know you're not really into working the wine much. Just
no. I mean, as it comes to winemaking, we're definitely old school. I think it is. We had a French soil scientist that once came, and we dug some holes, and he kind of looked at the soil and said, "Plant Syrah."
And the soils are what sort of soils then?
It's kind of silt layered by gravel, layered by clay, layered by silt. So if you think of the Rhone River, so we have the Waira River way over on the hills, and so that kind of layers in these soils. So that has an effect. And I think, you know, the interesting thing that we have about Syrah is that it's, with a lot of the other varieties, you know, all around the world, where I've worked all over the world working for wineries, you're picking for sugar. And then Syrah here, it's at an extreme. So at the end of the season, you know, you can wait and wait and wait, and as long as it's not going to rain, and we have very stable kind of autumns, so we can have from flowering to picking maybe 140 days, which is a huge amount of time.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're getting concentration without getting jamminess. So you're getting flavour, ripeness, and richness.
But that's one of the magical things about New Zealand. Is, you just said it, this long growing season, these long days, and these bright lights. I mean, we're all squinting.
Squinting, looking at it. Yeah. I mean, and autumns are really stable. So you know, like spring now, you know, it's frosts we worry about, but other than that, you know, the growing season's quite structured and quite stable, and rainfall's quite stable. So it's a great place to grow grapes. You know.
Well, you're doing a great job. Thanks.
Thank you.
And then just had a beautiful tasting of Chardonnay, Riesling, Pinot Noir, and Syrah at Fromm Winery. I'm here with winemaker Hatsch Kalberer. And Hatsch, when did it all start here?
92. And then we started from a bare piece of land and put in the best clones we could at the time. But we had sort of a wider vision. We tried out a lot of things, and many things, many varieties we knew, they're not all going to be great, but unless you try, you don't know. And if we wouldn't have tried Syrah, we wouldn't have Syrah, because it was clearly not.
And the Syrah was something you told me that a French viticulturist wanted to go fly fishing and contacted you, and he came and said, you should plant Syrah here.
Yes, well, sort of nice reinforcement from someone you have to respect naturally. Mm-hmm. But it's we had good faith that Syrah could work, because it is essentially a variety which in cooler climates can work very well. And I think now since 20 years we make this wine, and every year it works. It never gets alcoholic, it never gets overripe, and in the more difficult years the little bit of Viognier we can add to it is exactly that's what it needs to give it elegance, to lift it, rather than having to add sugar to make up. But you have to be very sensible with your crop levels, because if you go overboard, you just end up with something simple.
But your Pinots, interestingly, are almost more powerful than your Syrahs. Amazing structure. Fine tannins, beautiful acidities.
Yeah,
impressive.
I think that would also be quite natural, because You know, someone said the greatest wine in the world are made in marginal climates. Now, this climate here for Syrah is clearly marginal, and you have to be very sensible with crops level and everything. Pinot, it's probably almost a little bit too generous. So you have to, our main objective is to keep the alcohols as low as possible, and that also means trying to look at the leaf area, that we're not, you know, whatever can help to reduce the alcohol we will do, and that is a very, very small, or as a way which is not so quickly done. You know, you achieve quite a lot in a very short time by improve here or there. Now it's the refinement. The refinement process is.
How would you describe the character or style of Marlborough, or let's say Fromm Pinot?
I think Marlborough in general has a climate which can probably produce the most generous Pinots in New Zealand. They have nice texture, they're perhaps less fruit-driven than in Central Otago, but they have a little bit of this textural quality from Marlborough. I think we're leaning more to the northern part, Marlborough, and I think at best, at Fromm, speaking for ourselves, we have concentration with elegance, and I think that's an important thing. And we also like to express the site using the term terroir. I think a lot of New Zealand wines are probably typical in a sort of a cliche, that's how they should taste. If ours are different, it's not because we make them different, it's probably more the absence of interference which gives us the resulting wine, which then reflects where we are and what we are and what we like.
Beautiful. And I can tell you understand what great wines are when I see your collection of different wines you've drunk in your winery and also here in the tasting room. So you know great wines.
Well, we love great wines. It's an inspiration. That's why we do what we do. Yeah.
Cheers. Thanks again.
Yes, thank you.
Come back to me. Please come back to me. Please come back.
I'm in the vineyards of a legendary wine that arguably really set the tone for quality Sauvignon Blanc in New Zealand, Cloudy Bay. I'm here with the vineyard manager of the estate, Jim White. And Jim, just tell me about this. How does it happen? How do you make such great wines here? It's more than winemaking. It's really about here, where it is. That's what makes the Cloudy Bay style so interesting.
Look, it's Marlborough's a pretty big region. We cover a fair few square kilometres, but the Cloudy Bay, I guess its heartland is really here, where we are, right in the middle of the Wairau Valley. This is as we call it, the Rapara sub-region. It's sort of the warmest part of Marlborough, most frost-free as well. And the Cloudy Bay, I guess the original wine was made from vineyards quite close to here, and this really continues to be, I guess, the heartland of our wine, and it's sort of, it really typifies the style. We tend to be in a riper, more sort of full-bodied flavour spectrum and palate profile, and that's really based around the sort of the ripeness of fruit that we get here off the central part of Rapara and these lovely soils that we've got. And,
but tell me, I think that also you were discussing earlier, just when we were walking through the vineyards, that there's also a question of the ripening is a very long process. So you get ripeness, but it's long, over a long period, it keeps the acidity.
It does, yeah. So you're getting that intense flavour development and that evolution of flavours into that sort of, for us, riper Sauvignon spectrum. But yeah, that retention of acidity is certainly there. We often, nights of 3 or 4 degrees through that ripening period. Last year was a classic. We had a really late season. We had essentially no summer heat, but the warmest and the best weather we had all year was actually through April, and we really didn't start picking Sauvignon until the 20th of April, and sort of wound up on the 2nd of May, which I've come from Australia, and if you're picking anything in May, it's generally a disaster. Whereas we were just finishing off Sauvignon, which is a relatively early ripening grape variety in warmer parts of the world. So yeah, it's a pretty unique place.
Still in Marlborough, New Zealand, we were just in the vineyards of Cloudy Bay with Jim White, and now we're with winemaker Nick Lane, tasting the new release of 2012 Cloudy Bay. Loving the body of this wine, the fruit, the depth, the length. Tell us a little bit what you're trying for as a winemaker with Cloudy Bay, because it's serious winemaking. It's not just a super chic brand, but it's real winemaking, particularly from this area.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think Jim would have told you that we try and put a lot of effort into the vineyard to try and get everything right there. That's crucial to what we do. In terms of the wine, we're trying to capture a little bit of Marlborough in a glass, a little bit of Sauvignon Blanc in a glass. So aroma's really, really important to get that concentration of fruit, that passion fruit, that citrus, all of those fantastically lively aromas. But I think what sets us apart is probably the palate weight. We're really trying to get some concentration in there, some texture, and have a lovely harmony and balance to the wine. And that comes through, very good vineyard management and thorough, but also sometimes creative winemaking. And
what makes you different, do you think, than other Sauvignons in the world, particularly France, like Loire Valley, Sancerre, or Puy-Fumé, and White Bordeaux?
Yeah. I think what we have here is we have an abundance of fruit flavours to play with. We have an intensity of fruit that we can draw on, and I think our job as winemakers is to match that with some other minerality sort of flavours, some other complexity, floral also, and to balance that fruit out with other complexing factors.
And I think that there's always a consistency in the style and flavour of Cloudy Bay, but then there are differences in vintages.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we are a very cool climate grape growing area, and here in Marlborough, Sauvignon Blanc is a late ripening variety, and with that late ripening you're going to get the influence of cooler vintages and warmer vintages, and we embrace that, and obviously we want our house style, the Cloudy Bay signature, to be consistent, but you can't turn back the tide of nature. You have to embrace what nature gives you.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the tasting.
You're welcome. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.